The reason I wanted to do this podcast is there's a lot of stuff happening in the news at the moment about women's rights, gender pay gap, the Me Too campaign, all of that kind of stuff. And I'm still seeing right around me lots of young women who are lacking in confidence. And I just want to unpick that and find out why, with so many great women around me, why that still is the case.
Well, we've been trying to find the answer to that question ourselves. We've been making a documentary recently, and we kind of think that it's a whole multitude of reasons, not only men's influence, but also other women. I think that can be quite a nasty atmosphere sometimes.
I think because in our documentary we had a interviewee who had quite an interesting idea that it kind of starts when you're a kid. So when you're in school, there's like boys things and girls things. Like football is classed as a boys thing in school, and girls don't really feel like they can do it.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of something that is sort of ingrained in you, like throughout your life. And then when you get older, you just naturally don't have the confidence to like put yourself forward for things because you've got that unconscious thing in your head that you don't have, like you're not allowed to.
Do you believe that, though, in your own world? Do you have memories of that? Or do you think it's just subconsciously seeped in somewhere along the way?
I think it's to do with your parents as well, though. Because like my mum said that growing up, she never had any confidence to any sport or anything like that. But her dad wasn't really around much. Whereas with my dad, it was constantly with me and my brother up the woods, running, chasing after each other, like little mini athletics competitions, like all of that kind of thing. So I was always really into sport until I got to about year 9. And then it was influence of my friends and other girls that I was with that then, okay, so it's not cool to be a girl and into sport. It's not cool to... So then I think, like, I've got a friend who he's working, I can't remember what company it's for, but he's working to try and combat the fact that young girls start dropping out of sport in secondary school age. So that seems to be like a really running theme, is that it depends on who your peers are growing up, how your confidence develops.
Yeah.
Whereas I grew up with a bunch of sisters and one brother, so for me it was never a thing about girls' confidence or not girls' confidence, because we were the rulers of that household, my poor brother. But, you know, in a way, I was influenced by the fact that we were very confident young women, you know. I'm not saying lacking of confidence doesn't come into it at some point in your life, but in our little bubble, we were very confident people, I think. So do you think that, you know, what you were saying, Becky, about, you know, boys risking more, maybe being given the ability to fail? I have heard that, whereas girls tend to be focused on this perfectionism thing. And I don't know where that comes about. And have you any clues to that in your own worlds?
It is so true. Like, girls definitely have this perfectionism thing, whereas boys are just like, I'm just going to go for it, and if I fail, that's fine. Whereas girls are so much more, in my experience, are so much more like tentative to actually like put themselves forward for things in case it doesn't work out. And it's
like a fear of failure, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you almost stop yourself from doing something because you're scared.
I'm not actually sure why. Like, I don't.
No, I wouldn't.
So tell me the positives now. So where do you feel very confident in your world?
I think it's putting yourself into uncomfortable situations to become comfortable. Well, for me anyway, like coming to uni was about, okay, I know that I'm terrified of kit. I'm not going to get any more comfortable with it until I put myself in a situation where I have to use it and I have to teach myself and I have to start doing those things that scare me. So I think for me, it's massively put yourself out of your comfort zone to end up feeling comfortable overall.
So you mean technical equipment, basically, which a lot of girls seem to have a fear of. But actually, when push comes to shove, when you actually engage with it, it's not complicated. Do you think, and in my early experiences of when I was first dealing with cameras and camera people, I certainly felt the boys were much more like they knew all the names, all the technical terms. And I was thinking, what the hell does that mean? That fazed me more than actually picking up a camera and touching it and switching on the button because I liked imagery or whatever. So do you think in a way the boys tend to put over a certain amount of confidence and bluster by using technical terms to kind of phase the girls a little bit? Is that your experience as well?
Yes.
Oh dear. So it's still going on.
Oh God, yeah, massively.
Well, I think we both really like using kit. Like we get quite excited about using it, but it's just
it's like, oh no, this is like the boys area. Like, oh, I can't do this because the boys are going to know I'm doing it wrong and they're going to laugh at me.
Yeah, like we've waited in training sessions until all the boys have left to then be like...
asked our questions.
Oh my goodness
ashamed.
me.
So ashamed.
I'm ashamed of you for saying that. So what are the strengths that you think that you feel more confident than the boys? What areas?
Well, it depends, because it depends who you're working with. Because some guys are really great to work with in terms of all-rounded, like they'll listen to what you want as a director or a producer, and you'll work together to find something really great, like a really great kind of compromise. But then we've worked with people who completely disregard you, even if you're in those kind of like top-end roles and it's something that's important that needs to be done.
Yeah.
So it depends who you work with.
Tell me the tactics that you feel have been used on you, and do you feel it's conscious on the part of the males in this situation?
I think that the people we were working with, I think to an element it was conscious, because so we used to work with people that knew we didn't have very much experience, and we had quite high roles, didn't we? And we were supposed to be responsible for a lot, but actually because we didn't know any better, they took advantage of it and told us to do things that we weren't supposed to do just so they could have control. And I think like a lot of males, I find, have this need to just control it all, to have everybody's role and to like just have control of every single thing that goes on.
A lot of it is like enthusiasm, but it goes beyond a certain point.
Yeah, and it's just your contributions are quite often disregarded because they're not important. And
so, as a female, how do you get round that? Do you automatically suddenly go, oh, well, maybe they're right, because you have that little voice in the back of your head going, well, they seem to know more about this stuff than we do. So you doubt your own knowledge and then you back off. Is that how it works?
I think at that point we definitely did.
Oh yeah, completely.
We just completely backed off and thought, oh, these guys, they definitely know what they're talking about. They've been doing this a lot longer than we have. But then
about a couple of productions down the line, we started realising, we were saying, this doesn't add up. Like, this isn't what we're supposed to be doing. This isn't our role. Like, why are we sitting in the car for 4 hours while they're inside shooting? This doesn't make sense.
You actually let that happen?
Yeah, because at the time we didn't have
know any better.
And we didn't like have any confidence to...
Can I just add, I'm going to throw this one at you, because I certainly think there is an element of, one of my sisters said to me recently, we have choices to make in life. And I thought, she said, you cannot blame other people for decisions that have been made out of your control, because we have a choice. And I thought that was a really interesting perspective. And why do we feel generally that we will not make that choice, or we have made a choice to let it happen? That's my point. Why are we letting it happen?
I think part of it is you want to maintain professionalism. And like at that time we were thinking, okay, we'd won an award at this point working as a group together, so we were thinking, okay, this group can work, but maybe it just needed more mentoring from somebody else. But I think you don't want to be unprofessional, and you don't want to make a difficult situation, which really the situation's completely back to front anyway, so it's already a difficult situation. But I think when you're in that position, you'd rather save the drama. Part of you would rather
avoid
save the
the
drama
conflict.
than...
And is it fear of conflict then that makes you back down?
I think so, but I think it's also, just using an example from this point, we didn't have very much experience, as I said, and we didn't really have much confidence. So I think it's fear of starting something and then not having the knowledge to finish it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So if we start saying, this isn't our role, you're telling us to do everything that we're not supposed to be doing, I think personally I felt like they could come back saying, well, how do you know that? This is what you're supposed to be doing. And I would probably back down because I wouldn't know any better. I wouldn't know the knowledge to finish off the conflict.
Like the
But
facts
there's-
to back it up.
Yeah, but there's the super conscientious thing about a female. They feel they have to perhaps know it all in order to state the case. Whereas, I'm going to throw this one at you. Do you think sometimes males are better at pretending they know? I actually had someone say this to me recently. Oh, well, I always say, yeah, I know that. And then I'll look it up on Google later on. You know, I'll just pretend I know it all and then check it out later. I know personally I wouldn't do that. And I remember years ago a psychologist saying that in male-female situations that, you know, women will admit failure in a room and say, well, actually, I don't really know. And that could be seen as a weakness. Personally, I think that's a strength to be able to say, actually, no, I don't really know about this. But you know what? How about, or do we need to ask someone here? Or do you think, you know, we can gain knowledge from someone who does know about that and then just, you know, use their knowledge to move forward instead of a male might consider by admitting it that you actually are admitting weakness and failure before you even begin. Whereas us women together will know that we always admit failure. It's part of, you know, there's nothing wrong with saying, okay, don't really know how to do, and we all go, but it's okay, it's fine, you can, you know, we back each other up. Or tell me your experience of that.
I don't know. I think that it is easier for us to admit failure. But I think that situations like that have made us stronger in terms of what we do now. Because I think, in a way, personally, I think that it was almost a blessing in disguise to have that so early on, that now we've put ourselves in a position where we know enough to, if that ever happened again, to be like, no, actually, like, we know that this is our job. We know how to do this. Like, it's given us confidence in a weird kind of backhanded way.
Yeah.
To actually state your case and to challenge someone you may feel or they might be telling you the wrong thing.
And just to figure out like how to deal with it in the future. Like, we've worked with like different people since, and it just teaches you ways to kind of go about, okay, how can we work together in a way that's not going to offend this person that's trying to put their opinion on us and like make us smaller people, but how can we do it in a way that's going to lead towards teamwork rather than conflict?
Now, you mentioned earlier about a higher role, or you were saying we were in high roles. Now, this is the big discussion at the moment, isn't it? Why are women not in higher roles in general beyond a certain stage? And is it, do you think, women backing down, or what have you discovered along the way? Where do you think that comes from?
I was talking about this with my boyfriend because he does film as well, and I was saying how part of it is kind of like an unconscious bias. So there's a lot of males who will naturally put their trust in other males, and I do think that works similarly for females as well. I don't really know why, but I've just noticed it. There is a lot of unconscious bias about gender and about, you know, I naturally trust Miki more than I would somebody else. I won't say that name.
Well, then you have built up a relationship, a working relationship together. So therefore there is a trust thing going on. So it is human nature to attach yourself to people you trust and you have some experience, positive experiences of, and then to shy away from the ones that you don't. So in terms of, so you're into film and you're, you know, launching potentially into a career as filmmakers. And do you feel there's any bias at the beginning, or do you feel, you know, you're a lady of colour? Do you think that's going to help you or go against you, or have you any thoughts on that?
I haven't come across any bias in terms of professionally working at all, like none whatsoever. In a way, sometimes I wonder whether being of colour has maybe helped me in some situations. Like there's a couple of courses that I've gone for that I have had directorial positions in, and sometimes I've wondered, oh, maybe it's helped, which like obviously like I trust in what I can do and my abilities anyway, but also maybe it's just helped that little bit extra in terms of things like that, because obviously at the moment there is a lot less people of different races in the film industry. So, and even just in film in general, I was a festival curator for a festival called Black Lives on Film 2 years ago, and it was a group of us who were all of black colour, and we were debating what kind of things we see on screen, what kind of things we wanted to bring to this festival, and it was constantly this thing of, particularly within drama, stereotypes on screen, and a lot of the people around the table said that they've watched so many films and they've never found a character that they can identify with as yet. So in terms of personality and what they look like, which is something that I can understand. Like for me personally, I've grown up in pretty much an all-white environment. Like my Nigerian side of the family left before my dad was born, so we've never really had any connection to that. So I'm so used to being in an environment that is all white that it hasn't ever really made a difference in how I see myself. And a lot of the people around me doesn't make a difference at all, but you will go into certain situations, like not work situations at all, but in terms of like social situations in the past, I've gone into some situations and it has been an issue for people who don't know me, which is really bizarre to me because I'm surrounded by all these people that it doesn't, like there's no difference whatsoever. So that those situations have been
So
really
as a
bizarre.
woman of colour, then do you think it's a double whammy then if people react to you? Because, you know, maybe a black male doesn't get the same response, or do they? I don't know.
Well, I think
You tell
like
me.
in one particular situation, like when I was quite a lot younger, I went to a house party and it was me and one of my friends and a lot of her friends were there, but there was another group of girls who didn't know us, and they were very, very funny about two girls that they didn't know coming into that situation, which that's not like an unusual thing for girls to be difficult with other girls. But they decided to make it a race thing. So one of them had taken a photo of me and they said, oh, look, we've got a photo of the Paki. And I was like, okay, first of all, I'm quarter Nigerian. And second of all, could you please delete that photo of me? And the girl came straight up to me and said, what are you going to do about it? And I said, oh, well, look, I'm at a party. I don't know anybody, but I'd like you to delete that photo now. And the girl actually hit me. And the other girls all jumped in. And it ended up with us leaving the party because there was this big group of girls who had this, and she'd had a problem with her boyfriend. So there was some kind of like pre-existing problem, but then two girls come in that they don't know, and it's obviously like a difficult situation. But I actually saw the girl, this must have been about 6 years ago, and I saw the girl probably about 6 months ago, and I went up to her and I said, oh, I was just wondering if you remembered me. And she said, oh, no, I don't have a clue who you are. And I said, oh, and I asked her for her name, and I was like, is this your name? And she said, yeah. And I said, oh, I was at a party a few years ago. I just wondered if you remembered what happened, because it's something that I still think about, and I just wondered if like it was something that you still thought about, or it would be nice to like have a talk about it. And she completely denied it happening. And then some of my friends came up and asked what was going on. And I said, oh, this is a girl that I met at a party, explained the situation. They said, oh, Miki, just leave it, and apologised on my behalf for talking to the girl and asking her if she'd remembered it.
I think it was an amazing thing that you did. I really do. I think more people need to do stuff like that, you know, and not apologise for it, because actually you were challenging, you were offering her an olive branch by the sound of it, that had she moved on and had her thinking, changed. So yeah, I think that's a very good thing to do.
To be fair though, I think the fact that she denied it probably says enough that her thinking probably has changed since she's
And she's
grown
probably
up,
embarrassed.
She probably would have reacted differently if her thinking was the same.
So you've touched upon another thing I wanted to ask you about is, do you think girls affect other girls' confidence? I can see by the smile on your face that
I
is
think
the
so.
case. Well, tell me in how this might be, because
I think because it takes quite a lot for us to climb up the ladder, that when you're there and somebody else wants help, you think, no, I don't want you in here. Like, I've made all this progress. Like, you can't just jump in here. Go away. This is my job, kind of thing. Like, I don't know. I've experienced this a lot in the film career.
And what about in life, apart from the job that you do? Do you think that girls can really give other girls a hard time?
I think girls can be absolutely awful to each other.
Can be awful.
Like, growing up especially, like, girls are just sneaky in terms of tactics, whereas boys, like I've said, I grew up with a brother, so it was constantly like, well, you've done this has irritated me. It was like really open, whereas I think girls can be like, they find like weaknesses and like
they play games. I think girls play games.
It's more manipulative.
Yeah,
it's
very
like
manipulative.
it can be so tactical, kind of.
It's quite scary.
So, I mean, I'm a lot older, so I could say to you, girls, I think you're fantastic. I know what you're like. I think you're wonderful, and you do everything so professionally, and you're going to have great careers or whatever. And you're lovely people too. So all that, but do you still think there's a lack of confidence that might hold you back? You know,
we talk about this all the time.
It kind of annoys me to hear you saying that, in the sense that I know your worth, if you know what I'm saying, and it's sad to think that on the surface other people would go, wow, look, they're fantastic. They do the job, and they're really nice people as well. So why is that lack of confidence still there? And how can you advise other people to get over themselves and just get on with it?
I think it's a range of things. I think it depends on like so many different factors, but mostly I think for us, we've worked together for so long that we trust each other no matter what. Like, there's like, I would happily like, and that's the same with a lot of the other girls that we're working with, and the guys as well. But we trust each other so much. Like, I can quite happily like leave Becky in a room and be like, okay, like she knows exactly what she's doing. It's not an issue. Whereas I think sometimes if you're working with like new people, it can be difficult to know whether you're trusted, and like getting that balance of like trust right, I think is so important to give everybody that kind of confidence. Would you say that that's...
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's definitely a trust element. But about the confidence thing, I think it's, without sounding cheesy, it is kind of trusting in yourself that you are going to learn on the way. Like, because I think, for example, I'm applying for jobs at the moment, and a lot of them I know that I can do pretty much everything they're asking for, except maybe for one thing. And because of that one thing, I don't apply, but I say I don't apply, but I have actually applied for all the ones I wasn't going to apply to, because I just have to remind myself that I've like learnt so much in the space of a couple of years about a subject that I didn't even know. And it's kind of just, you just have to trust yourself that you will learn and you will do it, because everyone else does it, and the guys do it and girls do it, and so you can do it as well. You just have to be confident enough to just throw yourself into it and just take it as it comes, and accept that you are going to make mistakes at some point, because everybody does.
It feels like jumping into like a cold
pool,
doesn't it? Like, you just have to do it. Like, that's always what I find is when I'm really nervous about job application or like going to something or anything like that. If I can get myself to the point where I'm about to click send, or I'm about to walk in, or like I've driven there and I've got to go, once I get to that point, I can just do it. But it's that build up beforehand when you're thinking, oh, can I do this? Am I brave enough to do this? I think that's the point where you're most likely to turn back. And I know we've spoken about it, but like that's the time when you think, okay, actually, no, I'm not good enough to do this. I can't do that.
Yeah.
Well, funny enough, I did hear someone on the radio saying that, you know, in terms of job applications, they were talking about people who apply for jobs over 50k plus. They'll get a lot more male applications because the women won't even apply for the job, because they think, oh, there's 2 things on that list of 10 that I can't do. Whereas a male may apply for that job with 5 things on the list. And I think that is something that we just have to change. It's a mindset thing. Actually, we all have to just, as you said, trust that we've got the skills, and we can learn. And no matter what age, you can still learn. It's not just a young person's conceit, because actually technology is changing so much that everybody has to learn in every way. So if there's any last thing you would like to say about younger girls maybe coming up, in terms of what you think could have saved you some anxiety along the way.
I think...
Don't compare yourself.
Hey?
Don't compare yourself.
Yeah, don't compare yourself. Don't.
Don't do it. Don't even start.
But we've got the big elephant in the room, which is the social media thing, which is all about comparing yourself.
Yeah.
So how do you get over that one?
Well, that kind of started just around the age that we were kind of all figuring out like who we were, like beginning that journey of figuring out, oh, who am I in teenage years. And I think it's just the worst thing, because you've got that constant pressure of A, comparison to people you don't even know, B, comparison to people you do know, and then even that comparison to yourself, because you can look back at photos that you've posted like 3 years ago and be like, oh my goodness. So I think it's just constant pressure, and just stay away from it and just use it for work. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
Or like I deleted one of my old accounts and just started an account with only people that I know, people I would acknowledge on the street, people that I like. Didn't go near any people that I didn't like. And it's just, then you've got that place that's just with friends.
I think when you realise how set up social media is, it just takes away that comparison element, because you just think your life isn't real. Like, what you're posting isn't real. Like, you're not really sat on the sofa with a book in the sunshine. Like, you're inside posting this picture. Like, it's just it's so not real, and that makes me angry, because it is just like the killer of happiness when you compare yourself to someone. So it's just,
That being said, though, I think using social media for like work and for jobs is so crucial, because these days there's so many different jobs that are advertised on Facebook groups and LinkedIn and Instagram, and it just gives somebody the chance to be able to click and see all the stuff that you've done. So I use it for like looking at job posts all the time.
Okay.
So I definitely would.
So don't compare yourself, and be very careful with social media, and be happy.
And just be confident.
Yes.
You
Can I
just think you can't do it.
Can I say
in your head.
Can I say the same to you too? Good.
We're working on it.
Good. Well, thanks. I hope that was not too difficult.
It's okay.
Cheers.